roller coasters are meant for thrills and screams of excitement, but sometimes those screams turn tragically real. Throughout history, a few catastrophic rides have claimed lives, leaving behind chilling stories and safety lessons. Exploring the worst roller coaster deaths reveals both human vulnerability and the importance of strict amusement park safety. In the spring of 1997, Tulsa's Bell's amusement park was doing what it always did, blasting cheerful music, selling sticky cotton candy, and convincing people that screaming at a high speed was a totally normal hobby, when one ordinary day took a dark and unforgettable turn on the Wildcat roller coaster. The Wildcat was a wooden coaster with old school rattles, dramatic clacks, and that charming feeling that the ride might fall apart, but probably wouldn't, which somehow made it more exciting. On April 20th, the coaster was loaded with riders. The cars began their climb, and then something went terribly wrong. Instead of conquering the hill like a champ, one car failed to crest the top and rolled backward, colliding with another car behind it. In the chaos that followed, a 14-year-old boy named Patrick Kurek was thrown from the ride and suffered fatal injuries, turning a day of thrills into a nightmare that no one present would ever forget. News spread quickly, and the story shocked people not just in Tulsa but across the country, because roller coasters are supposed to scare you in the fun way, not in the life-altering tragedy way. Investigators swarmed the park, and attention focused on mechanical failures, maintenance practices, and safety systems that were meant to prevent exactly this kind of disaster. Reports suggested that the coaster's anti-rollback mechanism, the device that stops cars from sliding backward on a hill, had failed, allowing gravity to take control with devastating consequences. Lawsuits followed, emotions ran high, and Bell's amusement park suddenly found itself under an unforgiving spotlight. Parents questioned ride safety everywhere. Regulators pushed for stricter inspections, and the Wildcat coaster was shut down permanently. Its once proud wooden tracks now symbols of a preventable tragedy. While Bell's stayed open for several more years, the accident cast a long shadow over the park, and many locals would always associate it with that terrible day rather than childhood memories of mini trains and arcade games. Eventually, Bell's amusement park closed for good in 2006, ending an era for Tulsa, and leaving behind stories that mixed nostalgia with heartbreak. Today, the 1997 Wildcat accident is often revisited in documentaries, articles, and YouTube videos that analyze what went wrong and why safety standards matter so much in amusement parks. It serves as a sobering reminder that behind the flashing lights and looping tracks, engineering precision and maintenance are not optional extras, but absolute necessities. The Bell's incident changed conversations about ride safety, reinforced the importance of inspections, and left a permanent mark on amusement park history, proving that even places built for joy can become sites of tragedy when systems fail and warnings are ignored. For many people who grew up visiting Bell's, the story feels surreal, like a glitch in a memory that was supposed to stay bright and uncomplicated. Because amusement parks are woven into childhood as symbols of carefree laughter and fearless bravery measured in inches of height requirements. Former employees have recalled how the mood at the park shifted instantly, with rides falling silent and staff struggling to process that fun had turned into grief in seconds. Over time, the Wildcat itself became almost mythic, discussed in hushed tones online, remembered not for its drops, but for the lessons it taught the industry. Safety upgrades, better training, and stricter oversight across parks owe something to that painful day, even if it came at an unbearable cost. In that way, the tragedy at Bell's stands as a warning and a legacy, reminding everyone that thrills should never cost human life. On a seemingly ordinary spring day in London, Battersea Park Fun Fair stood as a symbol of post-war leisure, a place where families gathered to escape routine and indulge in harmless excitement. The sounds of laughter, the smell of snacks, and the rhythmic clatter of rides created an atmosphere that felt safe and familiar. Towering above the park was the Big Dipper roller coaster, a wooden structure that had become the Fun Fair's defining attraction. It promised controlled fear, brief adrenaline, and the reassurance that thrills ended safely at the platform. Few could have imagined that this landmark ride would soon become associated not with joy, but with one of the darkest moments in British amusement park history. On 30th of May 1972, what began as a routine ride turned into a catastrophic failure that exposed serious flaws in safety oversight, maintenance, and accountability, ultimately resulting in the deaths of 5 children and leaving a lasting mark on public consciousness. The Big Dipper was designed to deliver excitement through steep climbs and dramatic drops, relying heavily on mechanical systems that demanded constant inspection and precise operation. On that day, as a train ascended the initial lift hill, the haulage rope suddenly snapped. Without a functioning anti-rollback mechanism to prevent backward motion, the train began accelerating in reverse, rapidly gaining speed as gravity took control. What followed was a violent derailment at the base of the hill, where carriages collided, splintered, and piled into one another with devastating force. In seconds, the illusion of safety that defined amusement rides vanished, replaced by chaos, confusion, and irreversible loss. Emergency services rushed to the scene, but the scale of the tragedy quickly became apparent as injured riders were pulled from wreckage and lives were lost before help could change the outcome. Beyond the immediate horror, the Battersea Park Funfair disaster forced uncomfortable questions into the public arena. Investigations revealed that the Big Dipper suffered from numerous mechanical faults, inadequate maintenance, and a troubling lack of proper safety controls. The ride had been operating despite known issues, highlighting a broader culture in which entertainment value outweighed rigorous risk assessment. Although criminal charges were brought against those responsible for operating and maintaining the ride, the eventual acquittals left many families feeling that justice had not fully addressed the magnitude of the loss. The incident exposed weaknesses in regulation at a time when amusement rides were becoming increasingly complex, yet oversight had not evolved to match their risks. The aftermath of the disaster extended far beyond Battersea Park itself. Public trust in fairground safety was shaken, and the tragedy became a catalyst for discussions around stricter safety standards and inspections across the United Kingdom. The Big Dipper was dismantled, and within 2 years the entire funfair closed, leaving behind an empty space where excitement once stood. For decades, however, the memory of the children who died remained largely unmarked, their story known more through reports and recollections than public acknowledgement. It was only 50 years later that a memorial was finally installed, serving as a quiet reminder of the lives lost and the lessons learned at a painful cost. The Battersea Park Funfair disaster stands today not merely as an accident, but as a warning about complacency, responsibility, and the fragile line between thrill and tragedy. Jillian's Wonderland Pier in Ocean City, New Jersey, was long seen as a symbol of family entertainment, a familiar boardwalk attraction where generations came for simple joys like arcade games, Ferris wheel rides, and modest roller coasters that promised excitement without real danger. Among these rides was the Wild Wonder, a small steel roller coaster that appeared tame compared to towering theme park giants, making it especially popular with parents and children. On August 28, 1999, however, this seemingly harmless ride became the site of one of the most tragic amusement park accidents in modern American history. That afternoon, Kimberly Bailey and her 8-year-old daughter Jessica boarded the Wild Wonder, expecting a brief thrill during what was meant to be a carefree summer day. As the train began its ascent up the lift hill, it failed to crest the incline. Instead, the coaster unexpectedly rolled backward, gaining speed as gravity took over. The anti-rollback safety mechanism, designed specifically to prevent such a scenario, did not function as intended. In a matter of seconds, the train reversed down the track and collided violently near the station, creating chaos both on the ride and among the stunned onlookers below. The consequences were devastating. Kimberly and Jessica Bailey were ejected from the front car during the rollback and sustained critical injuries. Despite emergency response efforts, both later died at the hospital. 2 other riders were injured in the collision, though they survived. The sudden shift from laughter and music to sirens and panic left an indelible mark on the Ocean City community. Witnesses described scenes of disbelief as families who had been enjoying the boardwalk moments earlier struggled to comprehend what had occurred. For a location built around the promise of safety and wholesome entertainment, the emotional impact was profound. The accident raised immediate and troubling questions about ride maintenance, inspection procedures, and regulatory oversight, not only at Jillian's Wonderland Pier, but across amusement parks nationwide. Investigations conducted after the incident revealed troubling deficiencies. The Wild Wonder coaster lacked adequate fail-safe systems, and safety inspections were criticized for being insufficiently rigorous. New Jersey authorities cited the park for violations and imposed fines, while the ride itself was permanently dismantled. More importantly, the tragedy prompted changes in state amusement ride regulations, leading to stricter inspection requirements and renewed scrutiny of older rides that had been operating for years without major upgrades. While these reforms came too late for the Bailey family, they played a role in preventing similar incidents elsewhere. The accident became a reference point in discussions about amusement ride safety, illustrating how even smaller, seemingly low-risk attractions can pose serious dangers when oversight fails. Despite the passage of time, the Wild Wonder tragedy remains a painful chapter in the history of Jillian's Wonderland Pier. It serves as a reminder that public trust in amusement parks is built not only on tradition and nostalgia, but on uncompromising attention to safety. For many locals, the memory of that day still lingers, quietly shaping how the pier is viewed and remembered. Beyond statistics and investigations, the story ultimately centers on a mother and daughter whose lives were cut short during an ordinary family outing. Their deaths transformed a moment of leisure into a lasting lesson about accountability, engineering responsibility, and the human cost of safety failures. The Wild Wonder accident stands as a sobering example of how quickly joy can turn to tragedy, and why vigilance and public safety can never be treated as optional. In the spring of 2007, Osaka's Expoland amusement park was the scene of a tragedy that shook Japan's theme park industry and forever changed how roller coasters are inspected. The star attraction, Fujin Raijin II, was a steel roller coaster that had thrilled thousands of visitors with its twists, turns, and high-speed drops. On May 5th of that year, however, the ride would become infamous for all the wrong reasons. As the coaster sped along its track, one of its steel axles fractured, causing a car to derail violently. In an instant, what was supposed to be a thrilling adventure turned into a nightmare. A 19-year-old woman lost her life, and 19 other riders sustained serious injuries. Witnesses described the scene as chaotic and horrifying, with the screams of riders filling the air and emergency crews rushing to the scene. The derailment was not a freak accident in the sense of sheer bad luck. It was a preventable disaster stemming from years of overlooked maintenance. Investigators later discovered that the axle failure was caused by metal fatigue, a phenomenon where repeated stress weakens the steel over time. Even more alarming was the revelation that Expoland had skipped crucial non-destructive safety inspections, which could have detected the axle's weakening before it catastrophically failed. This combination of mechanical failure and human negligence turned a routine ride into a tragic lesson in engineering oversight. The impact of the Fujin Raijin II accident extended far beyond the walls of Expoland. For the Japanese public, it was a stark reminder that amusement parks, often seen as safe havens of fun, could harbor hidden dangers if safety protocols were ignored. Media coverage highlighted not just the tragedy itself, but the systemic issues within park management, sparking widespread debate about the adequacy of safety inspections in Japan's amusement industry. Regulators responded with stricter safety standards, making regular, thorough inspections of rides mandatory and penalizing parks that failed to comply. The accident also prompted a reevaluation of ride design, focusing on the durability of critical components like axles and wheels. Engineers began implementing more robust preventive maintenance schedules, and parks introduced real-time monitoring systems to catch early signs of wear and tear. While these measures came too late for those affected by the Fujin Raijin II crash, they have likely prevented countless other incidents, turning a tragic event into a catalyst for safety improvements. Expoland itself, once a bustling hub of family entertainment, could not recover from the accident's aftermath. Attendance plummeted as public trust in the park evaporated, and the financial burden of lawsuits and retrofitting safety measures proved insurmountable. By 2009, Expoland closed its doors permanently, leaving behind memories of excitement, fun, and the sobering reminder of what can happen when thrill and safety collide. The Fujin Raijin II derailment continues to serve as a case study for engineers, safety inspectors, and amusement park enthusiasts alike, a cautionary tale that reminds us that behind every thrilling loop and drop lies the responsibility of those who design, maintain, and operate these rides. While roller coasters are meant to deliver adrenaline and joy, the story of Fujin Raijin II underscores the essential balance between excitement and safety, illustrating that the consequences of neglect can be as sharp and sudden as the twists of the coaster itself. The accident is remembered not just for the lives lost, but for the lessons it forced the industry to confront, cementing its place in roller coaster history as both tragic and transformative. Picture this. It is 1986, and you are walking through the West Edmonton Mall, Canada's crown jewel of indoor chaos and wonder. Amidst the glittering fountains, sprawling shops, and the smell of buttery popcorn, something called the Mindbender is whizzing by above your head. It is not just any roller coaster. This is a triple loop, steel, gravity-defying marvel of engineering, one of the tallest indoor coasters in the world at the time. Kids are cheering, teens are daring each other to scream louder, and the adults are clinging to the idea that this ride is probably safe enough, and for the most part, it was. But on June 14, 1986, that illusion of invincibility came crashing, literally, down. The Mindbender's last car, cruising into its third and final loop, suddenly derailed. Bolts had loosened, wheels failed, and in a horrifying instant the car jumped the track. Passengers were thrown from their seats, lap bars proved useless, and chaos erupted in the enclosed space where screams bounced off the walls. 3 people died instantly, and a 4th suffered injuries that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The mall, normally a haven of leisure and commerce, transformed into a scene of disbelief and grief. Staff and emergency crews rushed to the scene, while onlookers tried to process what had just happened in the air-conditioned bubble they had taken for granted. What went wrong was a mix of human error, mechanical failure, and design oversight. The investigation revealed that the wheel assembly, critical to keeping the coaster cars secured to the track, had loosened over time, a maintenance issue compounded by the ride's original design. Lap bars, which might have been fine for a gentle thrill, were woefully inadequate for a situation where cars were literally flying off the rails. It was a stark reminder that thrill rides are only as safe as the care and engineering that go into them, and that even the most exciting attractions hide a serious potential for disaster if neglected. In the aftermath, engineers, amusement park operators, and regulators were forced to take a long, hard look at safety standards. The Mindbender was not just repaired, it was fundamentally re-engineered, with stronger wheel assemblies, new restraints, and enhanced safety features to prevent anything like that from happening again. When it reopened in 1987, it was not just a ride anymore. It was a testament to lessons learned in the harshest possible way. Despite the tragedy, the Mindbender continued to thrill visitors for decades, carrying its legacy as both a beloved ride and a cautionary tale. Stories of the 1986 derailment are still shared today, a reminder that even in places designed for joy, vigilance matters. Survivors and families of victims often reflect on the day with a mix of sorrow and appreciation for life, while thrill seekers continue to flock to rides that push the boundaries of fear and excitement. The Mindbender incident also sparked broader conversations about amusement ride safety worldwide, influencing regulations, inspection protocols, and ride designs to prevent similar tragedies. While we can laugh and cheer at roller coasters, the story of the Mindbender reminds us that behind every loop and twist is a serious responsibility. The safety of the people who trust that the ride will bring exhilaration, not catastrophe. So, next time you strap into a roller coaster, it is worth a moment of gratitude for those engineers and inspectors who quietly keep the bolts tight, the tracks secure, and the thrills alive, because somewhere in Edmonton, that lesson was learned the hardest way possible.